Nearly half of young drivers have experienced a crash or a near miss while engaging in distracting activities behind the wheel, and that's according to a new study. However, distracted driving awareness is high among young drivers. 87% say they have seen distracted driving campaigns, but that has fostered some positive changes. But 77% of drivers under the age of 40 admit to using phones while driving. So it's evident that a different approach and maybe some more encouragement is needed. Now, with me is Jon Wey, Director of Customer Experience and Safety at State Farm. So welcome, Jon. And I mean, how big of a problem is this? It just seems absolutely enormous.
Yeah, good morning, Jane. Thank you so much for having me. And you're right, it is a really, really big problem. And it's one that we are trying to think differently about and encourage others to think differently about, Jane. To some degree, this is not our fault. In our daily lives, we're preconditioned to remain connected and to remain distracted with what's going on in our work lives, what's going on in our personal lives. And let's be real, there's just a lot going on outside of both of those things these days that cause us to be distracted. And so there's a real pull for all of us, both outside of the car and then more importantly, when we get behind the wheel, to remain connected, to remain distracted. And then we are seeking to engage with folks differently, to talk about the opportunity to truly disconnect while we're in the automobile.
Yeah, I mean, it's just such a crucial thing, not just for the driver's safety, but the passengers and other people on the road. And it sounds like there has been some progress made. So that's positive. What else needs to be done?
Yeah, there are some regulations in place, Jane. Certainly, there are in certain jurisdictions, hands down laws and regulations that help combat this challenge. I think we've all probably seen the billboards, the digital billboards on the interstates that talk about the need to be more engaged in the driving process. But there's much more to do. I mean, right now we know that 80% of drivers admit to engaging in at least one form of distracted driving. Half of us admit to typing into GPS or intentionally speeding to get to where we need to go. Perhaps more concerningly, 1 in 5 of us admit to reading or responding to emails while we're behind the wheel. And I don't know about you, but that doesn't seem terribly safe. And so what we're seeking to do is talk about it more as an opportunity when we're behind the wheel and not an obligation. That getting behind the wheel and putting yourself in the car is a chance to disconnect from the noise and the distractions that surround us in most of our daily lives, and really reconnect with ourselves and use that safe space as an opportunity to tune out the rest of the world and really be there in that moment.
Do you see more cases around the holidays of people distracted? I mean, we're clearly busier. Are you seeing that?
Absolutely, and data backs that up. We know that stress tends to increase around the holidays as there are more things that show up on our calendar, and there are greater financial burdens that we have to bear in the coming months. That absolutely leads to additional distraction, additional stressors, and I think really heightens the need for us to provide even more intentionality to intentional driving and to disconnecting from those distractors when we're in the car.
Mm-hmm. And what about Department of Transportation data? Do we know who's more likely to do this, age groups, demographics, things like that?
You hit it off the top, Jane. Teens are certainly the group that is most likely to engage in distracted behaviors because it's also the group that's been most digitally native for most of their lives. They're most used to being connected and distracted in that way. And that's the group that we are most interested in targeting and talking about some of this opportunity with. But make no mistake, it is all of us. 65% of us fully across all age groups believe it's okay for us to take our eyes off the road for 2 seconds or more. And the hard reality is that if you take your eyes off the road for 2 seconds and only 2 seconds, think about that. That nearly doubles your risk of getting in a crash. And so that's not unique to teenagers. That is something that all of us should be paying attention to. A different way to think about that, Jane, and one I think that would be resonant for all of us, is it takes the average person about 5 seconds to read an average text. You can also drive the length of a football field at 55 miles an hour in about 5 seconds. And the way that I think about that is that the next time I look down at my cell phone to read a text, that's effectively like driving down a football field blindfolded at 55 miles an hour. And am I really comfortable doing that routinely? It's important to be thinking about it that way. And I think that's part of the message here, Jane, is just more intentionally thinking about the activities that we're engaging in while we are in the vehicle.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like a long time, but it really is. It's enough to drive off the road or hit another car or something. So
there's a whole lot more that can happen in 5 seconds than I think most people realize.
Yeah. Okay. So finally, where can people go for tips? What about parents of teenagers? What can they do to help?
I love the question, Jane. So please go to statefarm.com and visit our Simple Insights page, where we have a bunch of useful content that speaks to the concept of distracted driving and how we're starting to talk about it here at State Farm. Drivefulness, again, kind of calling back to an opportunity here to leverage attentive driving as a wellness activity. Personal story. My two favorite, 15, 20 minutes of the day, Jane, are when I get in the car in the morning to go to work and when I get in the car to leave work. And increasingly so because I view that as my opportunity to truly disconnect from everything that is going on around me. I love engaging with my family in the morning and getting everybody ready to go to school and into work. But I also love the feeling of shutting that car door and sitting in complete and total silence and having a couple of minutes to myself to think about the day ahead of me. And then I'm really trying to practice carrying that forward throughout the remainder of that drive. And then similarly, when we get done with work in the evenings, taking those few moments to really appreciate the silence that we've created for ourselves and then trying to carry that forward. And to your point about our teenagers, I view that opportunity as an obligation. Our teenagers are always watching us. And truthfully, that starts well before they're teenagers. Our kids are watching us drive all of the time and how we drive and how we don't pay attention while we're driving. And I take that responsibility very seriously. And so I would encourage all of our viewers and listeners to similarly think about that as we disconnect and reconnect with ourselves behind the wheel and serve as more attentive drivers, that's helping educate and inform our younger drivers as well.
Okay, great advice. Setting an example. Put the phone in the back seat. Just
it can wait. It can always wait. It feels like it can't, but it can always wait, Jane.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Jon, for all these wonderful tips.
Thank you, Jane. Appreciate your time.